Hello, my name is Alaba Awolaja. I'm a certified internal auditor. I am the internal audit fundamentalist. I'm happy to be sharing my first internal audit basics on understanding the definition of internal auditing. This is a crucial definition that every internal auditor and even GRC practitioners should understand. I'll be discussing where you can find the definition of internal auditing. I will discuss the definition of internal auditing. I will also share some understanding concerning the various key points or phrases in the definition of internal auditing. Then I will try to apply this definition using some practice questions, CIA exam practice questions. After that, I will reach a conclusion, then make a few recommendations that can help us in practice. Thank you very much. Now, I could start my first internal audit basics from anywhere. I could start from either the 2017 version of the IPPF, the International Professional Practices Framework by the Institute of Internal Auditors, the IIA, or the IIA's new Global Internal Audit Standards 2024. However, I want viewers and the listeners to learn internal auditing so they can answer basic questions like what and why without ambiguity. I am certain that many of my CIA review webinar participants will watch this video and they will say, oh, Alaba always takes his time with definitions of concepts. Okay, let's assume you already know why the definition of a concept is important to learning, but I don't mind repeating it again. So we will be on the same page going forward on this Internal Audit Fundamentalist channel. If you research on the internet, you will find an endless list of many reasons why a definition is valuable for learning something. And I want you to remember this. The list I will be discussing with you here today contains some of the things you will find on the internet about reasons why a definition is valuable for learning something. I also want to remind you that this is not an exhaustive list. A clear definition of something is essential for understanding that thing. For example, a concept like the internal auditing, because one, it clarifies meaning. A definition provides a clear, succinct, concise explanation of the concept, the meaning of the concept, and it will help you to avoid confusion, misunderstandings, misinterpretations, and any other areas that could confuse you in practice. The second one is that a clear definition establishes boundaries. We must set boundaries among the professional practice of internal auditing, accounting, and external auditing. A definition sets boundaries and parameters. We should be able to distinguish this concept of internal auditing from related concepts or ideas such as external auditing, accounting, internal auditing, compliance, internal control, and others. The third aspect of the importance of understanding definitions is that it provides context. A clear definition should offer us context. It should help us to position that concept we are discussing within a broader framework like governance frameworks, enterprise risk management frameworks, internal control frameworks, compliance frameworks, and others. And the fourth aspect of this discussion is that if you understand the definition of something, then that understanding facilitates communication. For example, once we agree on the definition of internal auditing on this internal audit fundamentalist channel, we will have a shared definition that will be useful for communicating among ourselves on this channel. Everybody on this channel will understand what I'm talking about, and we will all be referring to the same concept without any form of confusion. And the fifth aspect of importance of understanding definition has to do with guiding your application of the concept. If you understand the definition, it should guide or inform you on how to apply the concept practically. And when you are able to apply this concept practically, it should enable or help you to achieve an informed decision making. Then you should be able to solve problems easily in practice. Now, the sixth aspect of this discussion on the importance of understanding this definition is that it enhances understanding. The reasons why I want you to subscribe to this YouTube channel and to enable your notification is because I want to try my best to improve or enhance people's understanding about the professional practice of internal auditing, governance, risk management, and internal control. So, a clear definition will help us to identify relationship between concepts, and it should foster a deeper understanding of the concepts. The seventh aspect of this valuable lesson from understanding the definition of concept is that it supports analysis and evaluation. A clear definition will enable critical analysis and evaluation of the concept. It should enable critical analysis, evaluation of the concept, the implication of the concept, the limitation of the concept, the benefit or disadvantages of the concept. And the eighth aspect of this discussion is that it promotes consistency. Many times there is no consistency in our understanding or application or interpretation of the keyword internal auditing in practice. When we understand this definition, then we will achieve consistency in the usage and the interpretation of the word internal auditing, while reducing confusion, misinterpretation, or misunderstandings. And the ninth aspect of this discussion is that it facilitates learning. A definition provides the foundation for learning. That is the reason why I'm building this internal auditing learning on the foundation through internal auditing definition. So it should establish your learning. It should allow you to build upon your understanding of the concept of internal auditing and apply it in practice. And finally, the 10th aspect of this discussion is that it encourages critical thinking. Yeah, a definition encourages critical thinking as well as enabling critical analysis. So you can ask your own questions. You can think about a concept based on your understanding and ask questions. You can invite questions. You can ask questions. You can challenge opinion, challenge understanding, challenge insinuations, challenge impressions, and you can also refine your own understanding of the same concept. So, based on this, you will agree with me in summary that a clear definition of internal auditing is crucial for understanding the concept of internal auditing because it clarifies meaning, it establishes boundaries, it provides context, it facilitates communication, it guides application, it enhances understanding, it supports analysis and evaluation, it promotes consistency, it facilitates learning, and finally, it encourages critical thinking. And that is the reason why Myron Star Anna says, never forget the basics. They are the foundation of what you are capable of now. This is just the beginning of learning the basics of internal auditing. Let's continue. Okay. It is common to search for the definition of something on the internet. That is the normal practice. And when searching for the definition of internal auditing on the internet, you will encounter various definitions of internal auditing without even reference to the IAS definitions. Some of the definitions you will encounter may be related to or resemble the IAS definition of internal auditing. There are many definitions based on the general conventions and misconceptions and misinterpretations of internal auditing on the internet. Some of the definitions you will find will focus on a few specific internal audit services, internal audit activities, or even internal audit engagements that is based on the writer's opinion or understanding. So some internet definitions may even overlook the broad scope of internal auditing services concerning governance, risk management, and internal controls. I want to tell you that most of these definitions on the internet are people's opinions and understandings that have been established by some professional bodies, but not the Institute of Internal Auditors, the IIA. If you intend to achieve better internal audit practice, or you wish to become a certified internal auditor, I want to let you know today that some internet definitions of internal auditing will confuse you the more. However, the IIA's International Professional Practices Framework, IPPF, offers the best guidance for you to understand the concept of internal auditing and other related concepts. When you look at the 2017 version of the IPPF, you will find the definition of internal auditing as a distinct component of the mandatory guidance or mandatory category of this IPPF version. If you check the glossary of the international standards for the professional practice of internal auditing, which is called the standards here, you will not see the definition of internal auditing there. You will only find the definition of internal audit activity, which is taken from the broader internal audit definition. So I'm just saying this to let you know that this is currently we are seeing definition of internal auditing as a distinct element of this IPPF. So I also want to let you know that there have been no significant changes in the definition of internal auditing since this 2017 version of the IPPF have been effective in January 2017. But you will find the most recent definition of internal auditing in the GIAS, Global Internal Audit Standards, which will take effect in January 2025. What I'm saying here is that the GIAS, Global Internal Audit Standards, is a component of the 2024 version of the IPPF. I said it will be effective in January 2025. In conclusion, stop searching for the definition of internal auditing on the internet. Where can you find the definition of internal auditing? Refer to the IAS IPPF. If you use the IAS IPPF, whether the 2017 version of the IPPF or 2024 version of the IPPF, then it will help you to clarify the meaning of internal auditing and related concepts. Refer to the IAS IPPF to establish internal audit boundaries among accounting, external auditing, governance, risk management and control practitioners, and so on. Refer to the IAS IPPF to contextualize internal auditing, to communicate internal auditing roles in your organization effectively. You need the IPPF to apply internal auditing principles, internal auditing standards, and concepts properly. And finally, you need to refer to the IAS IPPF to improve your own understanding of the professional practice of internal auditing. These are just some of the few basics that are missing in practice. Auditors are missing these fundamentals, and that is the reason why we are here. So refer to your IPPF for better guidance on the professional practice of internal auditing. What is internal auditing? But let us go there first. Let me attend to a few things before we go to the what is internal auditing. I spoke about the changes between. I said there have not been any significant changes between the definition in 2017 and 2024. So I want to inform you that the only change you will see in the definition currently is changing from the word consulting activity to advisory service. That is the sole distinction between the 2017 and 2024 version of IPP's definition of internal auditing. So there's a change, which is consulting activity has been changed to advisory service. So in the 2017 version of the IPPF, we have consulting activity instead of what is now advisory activity. I hope you are listening now. We have advisory service here. It used to be consulting service, consulting activity before. I want to state this clear. It used to be consulting activity, but it is now advisory service. An activity can be an action performed by internal auditors or based on what has been established in the 2017 version of the IPPF. It can be an activity performed by the internal audit team or internal audit department. Even according to the IPPF version, 2017 version of the IPPF, we have an internal audit activity. which means an internal audit team or an internal audit department. So that has been clarified now, because in 2024 version we now have a clearly defined internal audit function. So when you look at the concept of a service, you can look at it in the form of a service provided by internal auditors, and that concept of service is broader in scope than using the word activity, because services relates to the kind of works done by internal auditors, which will also help us in understanding the definition as we are moving on. I also want to let you know that advisory services is the same thing as consulting services. That is a fact. Advisory services is the same thing as consulting services. The GIAS defines internal auditing in its glossary on the page 12 of the document. I will share a link to download the GIAS in the description of this video. So let's go back to what is internal auditing. This is the way I like to define it. According to the GIAS, Global Internal Audit Standards, internal auditing is an independent, objective, assurance, and advisory service designed to add value and improve an organization's operations. It helps an organization accomplish its objectives by bringing a systematic, disciplined approach to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. This has been part of me for a long time. Now, paying attention to details is one of the most important characteristics of effective internal auditors, in my opinion. You must pay attention to every detail in this definition of internal auditing, because these details are the foundation of everything this YouTube channel is all about. I will always refer you to these details when required in other videos. So, this definition of internal auditing is a concise statement of the role of internal audit department or internal audit function in an organization. In practice, not every internal auditors can actually or specifically state the role of internal audit in the organization. But if you understand this definition, it should be. Even with the inclusion of the purpose of internal auditing in the new GIAS, this GIAS definition successfully tells us the fundamental purpose, nature, and scope of internal auditing. So, if you have never received an internal audit orientation based on this definition of internal auditing, you are missing a significant fundamental aspect of your profession. Understanding each emphasized keywords and phrases are very important to internal auditors' professional practice of internal auditing. So all of these emphasized keywords, phrases are very important. You need to understand them to be able to talk about your role as an internal auditor in an organization. Okay, let's start from here. Looking at the key points in the definition. Internal auditing is an independent and objective service. Now, we need to talk about independence and objectivity. Independence refers to the structure, refers to organizational structure that allows the internal audit department freedom to determine the scope of their work, to perform the work to achieve engagement objectives, and also communicate the work, the result of the work, to the stakeholders. What I'm saying is that the independence is about the structure, the positioning, the organizational positioning of the internal audit department, that they are free to determine the scope of their work, perform the work, and communicate the result of the work without any form of interference. So it is about the structure of the organization. This is simply about structure, positioning, where you look at organizational structure or organogram or organizational chart. For example, internal audit department should not be positioned within a department, for example, finance department, that undergoes audit. That is about independence. Now, objectivity. Objectivity is about internal auditor's personal ability to be unbiased. For example, internal auditor's observations and conclusions should be based on the evidence they gathered during the audit engagement. That is about objectivity. Now, the next one is that internal auditing provides two kinds of services: assurance and advisory service. When you talk about assurance service is about statements, conclusions, or opinions that are intended to increase stakeholders' confidence about an organization's governance, risk management, or control processes. I want to state it clearly. Assurance are the statements, conclusions, or opinions which are intended to increase your stakeholders' confidence about the company's governance, risk management, and control processes. Are we together now? Now, that is assurance. That is the meaning of assurance. Then what is the meaning of assurance service? They are the service through which you perform an objective testing, assessments, evaluations, examination to provide assurance to your stakeholders, or to increase your stakeholders' confidence about governance, risk management, and control processes within the organization. So, for example, when we have, you can have an audit to determine the policies and procedures established to ensure compliance with internal control over financial reporting, ICFR. ICFR regulations are well understood, documented, and communicated by the organization. So, in assurance services, internal auditors must provide conclusions or statements or opinions on the subject matter based on the evidence they collected on the field or during their audit. Then, the advisory service. These are the services we provide when we advise our stakeholders without providing assurance or without taking or assuming management responsibilities for the subject matter or for the activity under review. So, you as an auditor and the stakeholder, we agree on what you want to advise them on. That is advisory. But don't forget that I said earlier that advice services is also the same as consulting services. So, for example, You can advise your stakeholders on the design, implementation, or completeness of new policies, processes, systems, or products and services before they are implemented. You can provide advice on the development of or the design of systems, policies, processes, procedures, or standard operating procedures before they are implemented. You can provide training. That is advisory service. Now, another aspect is internal audit services are intended to add value and improve an organization's operations. What I'm talking about is that the two distinct services, advisory and assurance, that is provided by internal auditing are intended to make things more desirable, to make things more useful, to make things profitable. They are intended to enhance organizations' operations, which will aid improvement of products, services, processes, procedures, operations, and systems. Now, the next one in the definition that you must keep very close to yourself. Internal auditing helps organizations accomplish their objectives by focusing on the entire entity or organization. And that is why it is a standard requirement that internal auditors understand their organization's strategic objectives and the goals and the objectives that support these strategic objectives, and they should consider problems, issues, solutions using broad perspective. They should view things entity-wide, because internal auditors understand that, okay, fine, when these matters become 1 or 2 and 3, then it becomes an organizational issue. So they look at things broadly beyond just a department. And that is the reason why we have challenges with our stakeholders when they believe something is insignificant, but internal auditors are raising it to be significant. So it's the way we view things, which is from broader perspectives. Now, the next is that internal auditing uses systematic and disciplined approaches to provide assurance and consulting, assurance and advisory services. We are talking about the internal audit engagement processes, which includes we plan the engagement, we perform based on the plan, we communicate the results of the work. So, internal audit has a long history of delivering the assurance and advisory services to their stakeholders through a method and structured approach. And these methods and approaches conforms with international standards. So it is very important for you to understand that internal auditing is a standard-based profession, and the standards may not be similar to other standards of other professions. Please note. The next one is that internal auditing evaluates and improves the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. The role of internal auditors include a broad array of responsibilities in the organization's governance, risk management, and internal control processes. The nature of internal audit work is to evaluate and improve the effectiveness of governance, risk management, and control processes. And this is what makes the work of internal auditors broad in nature, because you see, governance, risk management, and internal controls are interrelated, and they can be complex sometimes. So now, independence, objectivity, assurance, and advisory services, governance, risk management, and control processes in the context of internal auditing are the things that we are going to be discussing later in this channel. Now, as a facilitator for the Certified Internal Auditor CIA exam review, I intended to create YouTube content focusing on internal auditing, governance, risk management, and internal control, tailored for CIA and let's say the certification in risk management assurance CRMA exam. So it is very important to look at my approach to this internal auditing discussion. So as it may be necessary, I will try to use exam scenarios to solidify and demonstrate various ideas, concepts, and principles on this channel. Now, let's use some CIA Part 1, which is Essentials of Internal Auditing, practice questions to grasp the importance of understanding the definition of internal auditing. What I'm going to tell you is that I've done a video before, I think in March 2022, telling CIA candidates that with their understanding of the definition of internal auditing, they can answer more than 10 questions comfortably. So we will look at some questions related to the role of the internal audit function in an organization. We will also look at some questions related to independence and objectivity requirements, examples of assurance and advisory services. Now, let us try to use the questions to understand the role of internal auditing in an organization. This question says, the proper organizational role of internal auditing is to A. Approving the operating objectives or goals to be met, determining that they conform with those of the organization, developing and implementing control procedures, and D. Accomplishing desired operating program results. In my opinion, I think D. No, not D. I'm sorry, it can't be D. In my opinion, it's B. In B is correct. And for example, now this is what many people will think in practice. Developing and implementing control procedures. This is found conventionally in internal auditing, which is a role that can impair the independence and objectivity of internal auditing if there is no proper safeguard. So the answer is actually B, determining that they conform with those of the organization, because internal auditors should ascertain the extent to which operating and program goals and objectives have been established and conform to those of the company. That is what is expected of internal auditing. So in my opinion, I will highlight this as my response to the question, not D. Okay, this is another question on independence and objectivity requirements. And the question says, which role should the internal audit function avoid to maintain independence and objectivity? A says all answers are correct. B says making decisions on risk management, risk responses, implementing risk responses on management's behalf, imposing risk management processes, and so on. In my opinion, all of this should not be done by internal audit. So the right answer to this question is this A, in my opinion, because internal auditors should avoid all of these things, all these actions or activities, because these activities threatens internal auditors' independence and objectivity. So you should just avoid it. So the correct answer is actually A, in my opinion. So I think A is correct. I will always say don't go there. For all of for the other options, just don't go there. Just don't go there and just don't go there. They are not the rules of internal auditing, although some people may be doing them in practice, but they are not the role of internal auditors when you are considering the implications on independence and objectivity. This is a question on examples of assurance and advisory services. And the question says, all the following activities will be considered advisory services except. Now, we have the option says the director has engaged internal audit to review and recommend improvement for the adequacy of this and blah blah blah. Then another one says the board has requested internal audit to provide an opinion on engagement claim that this blah blah blah. The CFO has requested internal audit to provide an estimation of the savings from outsourcing blah blah blah, and all of that. Let me tell you something. I'm only looking for something on I'm looking for a key point that differentiates assurance from advisory services, and I'm just looking for a keyword: opinion. This opinion I mentioned earlier, and I said that assurance, according to the GIS, assurance is a statement intended to increase stakeholders' confidence in an organization's governance, risk management, and control processes. And the assurance service are services that internal auditors perform by objectively examining evidence to provide assurance. And when they provide assurance, they have to include their opinion or conclusion on the subject matter or on the case. So I'm only looking for opinion, and I found opinion in this option. So that's just a straight one. I'm looking for conclusion or opinion, and I found one, and that is the answer in my opinion. So sometimes you don't have to bother yourself. You are looking for a key point that differentiates those concepts, and that's all. This is a question on one of the key phrases or points in the definition of internal auditing. And the question says, the responsibility of the internal audit function in an assurance engagement for ethics-related matter is ethics-related matter or governance matter. So I'm looking for key points that relate to that definition, and this is very obvious in this question. There's an option that says to evaluate the design and effectiveness of the organization's ethics-related activities. The key word in the definition of internal auditing is already here, and I understand that ethics is an aspect of governance. So I'm not looking for something that will bother me too much on these questions. So this is how we relate the concepts in the internal audit definition with other concepts in internal auditing to make quick judgment on CIA questions and without being confused, because I don't have to look at all of the options. I'm only looking for keywords that relate to the role of internal auditing related to governance, risk management, and control. And that's the way I think about it. And when I'm confused, I'm still going back to that basic of what is the role of internal audit according to the definition of internal audit. Finally, I have to conclude and make a few recommendations. 1. Organizations require effective governance, risk management, and control processes to create, protect, and sustain values in this current dynamic business environment. So, governance, risk management, and control processes are interconnected, interrelated, and they can be complex. Another thing is that internal auditing is crucial for ensuring effective governance, risk management, and control processes as per the definition of internal auditing. So, the requirements for effective governance, risk management, and control processes broaden the role of internal auditors in organizations. Therefore, internal auditors must understand the proper definition of internal auditing according to the IIA's IPPF for them to achieve comprehensive coverage of internal audit services. And by doing so, they can successfully attempt and pass internal audit related professional exams like the CIA, CRMA, and others. My recommendation is very simple. First, you need to learn the conventional definition of internal auditing that you know before, because you need to redefine internal auditing based on this definition that I explained in this video, and you have to move away from those traditional or confusing definitions that you will find on the internet. The another one is that you need to adopt the definition of internal auditing based on the IIA's IPPF. That is very important. Adopt it, you will learn a lot and be able to apply most of those concepts in your regular practice. The next one is that you need to understand and memorize the definition of internal auditing provided by the IIA. It was difficult in the beginning, but I've memorized it. It's now part of me because I used to define many things, explain many things in practice. So, I ran into arguments many times. So, whenever I run into arguments, I go back to the basics of the internal audit definition. And finally, you also need to apply the definition in your internal audit practices to facilitate organizational changes. I've spoken a lot, and I think this is very important for your practice. Apply it, learn it, understand it, and apply it. This is just the beginning of the basics of internal auditing that everybody should understand. And finally, please remember to subscribe, enable your notifications, and share this channel with your internal audit network so that many internal auditors will benefit from this knowledge sharing session on the YouTube without cost. Thank you very much for this wonderful opportunity to discuss internal auditing definition with you. Thank you once again. Bye for now.